Welcome to the Lovecars on the Grid podcast, your global motorsport roundup with me, Tiff Needell, and Paul Woodman.
Welcome to episode 17 of Lovecars on the Grid, your global motorsport roundup. Not that much action happening around the world this year. Oh, God, let me start again.
Well, of course, I mentioned we suggested IndyCars. That didn't happen. Sorry, that was the first six. We promoted IndyCars at the end of last show.
All right. Okay. Well,
so not much happening around the world, especially as the IndyCars that we suggested you watch got COVID. It did.
Okay. Welcome to episode 17 of Lovecars on the Grid, your global motorsport roundup. Not that much going on around the world, a little bit thin on the ground, especially as we said to watch, or he said to watch, the IndyCar, which got COVIDed and called off. But I'm going to start at home this week because there's no Formula One, but there was as close as you get to some amazing British action, which was, of course, the Festival of Speed at Goodwood.
Yeah, the place to be.
Well, it has to be the best motoring event in the world in terms of motor show. Yeah, motor show, a moving motor
sadly,
show.
I wasn't there. Were you?
Well, yes, I went. I did go and had a look.
And I thought I was racing at Brands. It's also in Britain this week, and loads going on in Britain this week. We had Superbikes up in Scotland. There was British GT, which was very hectic at Donington, and there was historic racing down at Brands. Actually, I thought I'd be there, for I didn't get lined up to go to Goodwood. So I was at home watching so many sports, and that's the other thing. Obviously, this morning. And on Sunday, I was watching the women's cricket, which we lost in the last over. The golf was amazing up in Scotland. There was the Djokovic winning, my wife's things. That was amazing. And then, yes, in the evening, you've got it upside down or something's wrong. Anyway, and then in the evening, we had that. Then I was watching the NASCAR. So what a weekend. I was stuck at home because I hadn't committed to Goodwood. But I watched on the Goodwood on the internet, on the download, which is great
on the live
to watch.
feed, and it was on Sky as well, which was good.
They do a fabulous job with that live feed. You see so much, and it is a wonderful event. But you were there, were you, wandering around?
Yeah, I only went on the Thursday, and we had some other guys there on the other days representing us, which is good. But there's so much to see, and it's not like a normal motor show because, of course, you can see, hear, smell, touch. And if you don't know what the Goodwood Festival of Speed is, you probably shouldn't be listening to this podcast anyway. But it is an event where you get all sorts of cars, from supercars, electric cars, Formula One cars, all sorts of cars, and they're driving up the hill. Some of them doing the sprint, which was yesterday afternoon. So
a couple of spectacular crashes. Yeah, it was all a bit iffy, but that was very hectic. But you get so close to the historic Grand Prix cars, the Indy cars. You just walk around a paddock like it was at Goodwood, 50 years ago. You can see close up. So many big heroes wandering around. Mario Andretti was there, being the big star of the day, and of course also it's a car show. The car manufacturer there with stands where you can it's a fabulous combination of car show. The supercar collection they get each year is just beyond anyone's dreams. The Valkyrie went up the hill. It was great to see that in action. We haven't seen much of that, but. It's an amazing weekend.
Not just to see the Valkyrie, but to hear the Valkyrie. V12 naturally aspirated. That thing doesn't look like it should be on the road. And of course, our old mate, Lucky Supercars, he was there repping for Paddle Up, his new online auction platform with his F40 all wrapped. So he was doing a little bit of hospitality as well.
But it was so good for the Duke of Richmond and Gordon that it happened, because he's lost so much money keeping Goodwood going, after 18 months, all those events cancelled, the horse racing and the Goodwood revival and everything else. So he really needed this event to happen, and it was still fingers crossed when they, said it was July the 19th. He had to make it one of these special COVID test events, and so it was fabulous to see it happening, and a great crowd down there at Goodwood.
Yep, and it was amazing, and pretty good weather. Which, for those of you outside of the UK, God, we got some lousy weather. We haven't even had a hint of a summer yet, so it was pretty good weather the whole time. So there you go. So sticking in the UK, where should we go now, Tiff? I'll let you decide where we go.
Now, time to go worldwide then. That was, that was the events in Britain. But the only single-seater racing of major international was Formula E. And I'm going to be positive about Formula E. I keep on, pointing out its errors on my Twitter, and it upsets people. But Sam Bird won. England's Sam Bird won, which I thought would set up an evening of great English victories. And he's won it before at New York. And Sam is probably, I think, the best driver in Formula E. I think, this is the thing about Formula E, although I don't like the concept and the way it's run, you still have to have brilliant drivers. And Sam is one of the best. He won at the beginning of the year, and that, of course, puts you in the first qualifying session. And it doesn't reward winners. You end up at the back of the grid for 4 or 5 races. But there was a bit of a drizzle in qualifying, so he got through the qualifying stages, got the Super Pole, and just dominated from start to finish. So it's absolutely fabulous to have Sam winning again. The only trouble is, going back to my criticisms of Formula E, when it now comes to London, which the date, it's 21st of July. It's only a couple of weeks' time. Yeah. So he's coming home, now leading the championship. So you think, right, Sam Birdie's the best Formula E driver. But he's going to be back in the first group of 6 in qualifying. Now, the race at XL, I think the track is going to mature over more and more runs, which is what tends to happen. It'll be one of those circuits where going in that first group, which includes going indoors and outdoors around the XL, he's not going to qualify very high up. So all the public are going to go along. This is what I worry about Formula E. But where's Sam Bird? He's the championship leader. Why is he 20th on the grid or 18th, which could well happen? So anyway, there's 2 rounds in London and then 2 rounds in Germany. Then it's all over by August the 15th. So maybe Sam can hang on. He deserves that championship. He hasn't won it. And if any driver does, I think he does. So good up for Sam.
Yeah, I'd love to see him win as well. Staying with electric, what about the Pure?
Yeah, I caught up. Eurosport showed it, recorded this Pure ETC. It was a support event for the World Touring Cars. Well, the World Touring Cars is boring as anything, as you know. I don't like those front-wheel drive hot hatches. 10 laps, reverse grid for a World Championship event is just, no, sorry, World Touring Cars. There was a win for Audi and a win for Hyundai, by the way, in the World Touring Cars. I did sort of watch this Pure ETC again, and it's a bit like rallycross on tarmac. It's just short, the big grand final was only 7 laps of a shortened Aragon track. So it was about a 10-minit race. But the cars do look fabulous. I mean, they're still heavy. They're, 1.9 tons. And they're on sort of a road tire, an all-weather tire, a bit like you have your Caterhams, so the grip isn't really there. But it was close. And the cars, I think, look fabulous. We had our own Oli Webb, who's obviously been with us on a few Lovecars teams.
Come on, Oli.
He finished 3rd in the second final. But it works quite well because they've got their own push to pass. They can have 500 watts maximum, which is about 650 horsepower. But they only have that for 40 seconds of your 10-minute race. So where you use it, like push to pass in IndyCar, you can either use it to defend. So it's just an extra trick a driver can use. You don't have to go around the attack mode or have the DRS flap. You use it when you want to. The rest of the time, you're stuck down at 300 watts, which is 450 horsepower. So, it's only 7 laps, short laps. It's always close, and there's plenty of rather bargy. That's the trouble with argy-bargy overtaking, which unfortunately seems to be a factor of modern motorsport when you haven't got open wheels. And there were two sort of controversial pushing him off the road incidents in one final. But it was quite entertaining. I enjoyed it. And it's weird because they got all these time attacks. And what do they have? They have battles, then they have trials, and then they have finals, and it's all short, sharp.
Too confusing for me.
But the 2 finals they showed last night recorded were quite entertaining. So if you're going to have electric racing on tarmac, then, maybe that's the way to go. It's short, sharp, modern spectator span. So I enjoyed it.
Well, my hat's off to all these innovators. The electric is clearly the future or part of the future. Part of the future. Let's not go too far. I'm going to stick with internal combustion car as long as I possibly can. What about NASCAR? So there's no IndyCar because of the COVID breakout.
While the World Touring Car drivers were doing a very hectic 10 laps for their points, Kurt Busch won the Atlanta NASCAR after 260 laps. And, it's proper racing, with fatigue and distance and strategy. And it turned out, actually, the great domination by Hendrick Motorsport Chevrolets, that's, Carl Larson's obviously my hero, our family hero is one of those, seems to be slightly over now. But in fact, it was Kurt Busch and his Chevrolet that came out winner in the end, battling with his younger brother, Kyle Busch. And they never got on very well. So this is a great thing about America. There's always these stories behind the story. And funny enough, Kyle, the younger, was leading when he caught up Kirk's, his elder brother's teammate. And of course, the whole thing in American motorsport, you don't have to wave blue flag. You don't have to say, yes, overtake me, leader. Because it's all about staying on the lead lap. So when the leader catches you, you block him, you hold him back, because any minute there could be yellow and you could be back on the lead lap. So, Kyle and Kurt's, get the two bushes mixed up. Brother got held up, Kyle. And so came through Kurt Busch to take the lead and win the event ahead of his brother. So it was all good. In fact, it was quite a good win, really, because it wasn't just a Chevrolet, it was the Ganassi team who have just announced they've sold the whole team to another team. They're leaving NASCAR this year, Chip Ganassi. So it was a win for the Chip Ganassi team, and a great result for Kurt.
Name, isn't it, in NASCAR?
But yeah, funny to talk about losing on penalties. Kyle, they weren't on the pace quite, as I said, the Hendrick Motorsport Chevys, and Kyle was running about fourth last, and he got a penalty, speed limit penalty in the pit lane, so he lost a lap. Was never really in contention from there on. So penalties spoilt my night quite a lot.
So I know you like your music. So is the rivalry, the sibling rivalry with the Bush brothers, the same as the Gallagher brothers? Is it like a public feud? Is it that?
Oh, it has been. It has been at times. Yeah, I think they're older and wiser now. They're a bit more simple. There were quite a bit of bad blood earlier on in their careers.
Amazing.
There's lots of sarky comments, but I thought my younger brother would know better and that sort of thing. So it's all part of that. That's what makes racing good. Like we build in the characters in Formula One with, Hamilton and Bottas and, Max. It's so important to motorsport that they're allowed to speak their minds a bit more, so we get to the characters out racing. And of course, they're all at British Grand Prix, of course, the big weekend coming up.
Of course. But I think the problem is these days is that it's very hard. If you have an opinion these days, it's really hard, because all the PRs are saying, "Oh, you're not allowed to say that," and but you all should be allowed an opinion. And then you get slated on social media if you say something that a percentage don't like. It's a funny old world we live in now. And that I've got something going on at the moment with Caterham that is just,
I'm bored with that. We don't need that.
It's just let's just move on, please. And let's move on indeed, because you're right. It is the British Formula One this weekend at Silverstone, which is
the big weekend. We've got a full capacity crowd there. It's going to be a wonderful. The weather's picking up. We're about Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Summer's arriving. A little whisper that they might be a little Mercedes announcement this weekend. A certain George somebody might be officially announced. That's what's a growing rumour going on.
Good for George. And the sprint race as well for the first time.
Yeah, first ever sprint race. In fact,
how's that going to work? How's that going to work?
Well, we don't know. A lot of the drivers have predicted they'll all just go around, nose to tail and stay where they are. Nobody want to risk a manoeuvre that might drop them back 4 or 5 places. I hope that won't happen. I'm not sure what tyres they're on. I haven't found out yet. I want them. They should make them run hard tyres. The hardest compound, so they haven't got so much grip. Otherwise, there might be a bit of tyre conservation going, even for a 30-minute race. I think it's 30 minutes. Yes, I think. But I think the Saturday could be the better day to be at Silverstone, because you've got 2 Formula 2 races, the W Series race, and the sprint race. You've got 4 races on the Saturday.
Wow.
Whereas the Sunday, it's just the Formula 2 race, the final in the morning, and then the Caterham, not the Caterham, the Porsches, and then the Grand Prix later on. So I think it's Saturday. And I'm looking, because, of course, Formula 2, we've got Dan Ticktum, our enfant terrible, who's such a quick driver, but then he makes moves. If Dan just calms down a bit and doesn't make some crazy moves,
he's a great driver.
We could have a British winner of the Formula 2 race. We might even have a British 1, 2, 3 in the W Series, because, of course, our women are leading their first, second, and third in the championship, Chadwick and co. So it could be a good flag-waving weekend for the Brits. With obviously Lewis winning the Grand Prix and defeating Max Verstappen on the Sunday. It could all happen.
I think that's wishful thinking. I think the Brits are going to wave the flag anyway, because to see a capacity crowd at Silverstone is going to be a fantastic sight again. And do you think, Tiff, here's a question for you. Do you think that they will beat my 2 minute 36.5 lap time?
Possibly, yeah. Was it 2 minutes 30? What is a Formula 1 car? About 1 minute 36, probably a minute quicker or more than that.
Incredible. And that always reminds me of, we mentioned a couple of times on this podcast, of that brilliant item you did at Fifth Gear, where you were in the Williams Grand Prix car and you had to do 3 laps in the time that I think Vicky Butler Henderson
Yeah, I did 2. Yeah, 3 and 2. It's the same at Thruxton, but I know that Damon Hill's lap record at Thruxton, he could do 3 laps at the time it takes me to do 2 in that BMW M4.
Yeah, but you are going sideways the whole time. Anything else going on in the world of motorsport next week? Because I think that's pretty much it for this weekend.
No, nothing last weekend. Everything. World Formula One, World Endurance Championship, Monza with the Toyotas. Hopefully the Glickenhaus will go better, the Alpine. So World Endurance Sports Cars is developing. And there's World Rally in Estonia, which I think is the first World Championship of Estonia. So hopefully Gwyndaf Evans will be getting back on top of the championship because that Ogier bloke keeps on winning all the rallies. we need an Ogier to have his suspension taken out or something. And of course, NASCAR every weekend. There's a NASCAR in New Hampshire. So that's quite a big weekend for motorsport around the world. But I'm so looking forward to being at Silverstone at the weekend. And the weather's going to be good. Campsites.
Who are you going to Silverstone with? Are you going?
Of course I'm going.
Who are you going with? You never told me that.
Well, yes, I entertain guests. Motor Passion is the place to go. We entertain guests all over the world. We can go to NASCAR if you want to come with Motor Passion.
We'll put a link below for Motor Passion. Lovely man called Steve who runs Motor Passion.
Yeah, him and his wife, just sort of only 20 or 30 short, small groups. And so I shall be exclusively available to the Motor Passion guests to talk to. And of course, BRDC member, I should be in the BRDC enclosure or the farm. And yeah, and I'll be hobnobbing it with the Royals. Talk about Royals, you see old what's his name? Mission Impossible was everywhere. Talk about Mission Impossible.
I know, he was at
tennis,
Goodwood,
football,
then the tennis,
Goodwood.
and then the football.
Yeah. He looks good though. He's about 60 or something, is he, Tom Cruise? I mean,
59. I think if you looked at him close up, he's not
going to
be as. He's not going to have that complexion you got. You got the
bit of this going on.
Oh yeah, but he's a cool dude. But that's it for this week, and next weekend will be a big one. Prediction is that it won't be Lewis on the top, but who knows? Maybe
Lewis is going to do it. For goodness' sake, you're getting. Now just we got lost the football. We're not going to lose the Formula One as well. Lewis is going to get through somehow.
I hope so. Here's to next weekend, and I hope you
see you at Silverstone, everyone.
Comments below as always.